Well, I haven't seen this dude in forever. You just did his podcast. Lou, have you met Ryen Russillo yet?
I have not.
Well, good. Then we're
Virtually,
about to
I
have
have.
an introduction right now from the Ryen Russillo podcast and 1,000 other things. Who are we kidding? Russillo is here. What's up, buddy?
Good to see you again.
I know.
This has been a minute.
It's the last time I saw you. We were at ESPN, and I remember you came on to Sports Nation, and they were like, he doesn't have enough energy. I'm like, that's who he's just a dry dude. Like, let him live.
That's what you said about him?
No, I didn't say it.
Oh.
And then he and I talked about it, mocked everybody that said it. It was
True or
fun.
false? Ryen Russillo's been to my house in Malibu for a party.
True.
Well, kind of false, because I think I got there after the party had been going on for 48 hours.
Oh my God.
That checks out.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chandler, it was so bad, Chandler left his own house.
Yeah.
So I remember I brought a friend, shall we say.
Yeah.
And I was like, this house is sick. Great dude. A lot of cool people. It's going to be amazing. And Chandler and I's mutual buddy was like talking it up. And she was like, all right, this is going to be great. Big car service, SUV black.
Oh, wow.
Obviously.
You dirty
all the
dog.
way up. Yeah, so I was like, I'm doing this up huge, and it looked like a bomb went off. And then Chandler left. So she was like,
left
you're
her
friends with these guys?
I don't know.
Do you trust people in your house? I would steal something if I knew you were.
Yeah, I trust it. Go on.
By the way, for the record, Chandler was fine. It was
Yeah.
just like everything else going on, it was over.
If it
had
was,
been
yeah,
over.
if it's a week, it's a 3-day party. It's come and go as you please.
Lou, have you been to one of these parties?
I have not.
I have not either.
Because now I'm a working man. I'm a
have
father.
Yeah, whatever. We're sick and tired of you. All right, so let's get to some hoops talk here, because Embiid made the big return last night, which is still shocking to everyone on this panel that he's already back. But he had 24 points. They make it out of the play-in. They're getting Boston or Milwaukee. Can we be hyped for this? What kind of a chance are you giving it?
Well, it's a lot more fun than watching what they've been since he was gone, because they've just been terrible. I think they've tried to piece it together as much as they possibly can. But last night was interesting for a few different reasons, right? Because they were subbing him in and out with that game mattering. You know, they could have just said, all right, fine, he got back, he got his run. It's clear. I don't care what Nick Nurse said about his conditioning. I mean, it's just not realistic that he would be back and close to peak conditioning for him, because he's a big guy. He hasn't, like, playing in a real basketball game is completely different than all the work that you would do leading up to it. So he had a couple big shots. I actually thought he was a little passive, which is understandable, but going up against Boston or Milwaukee this late in the game, like, Boston has a lot of things they can throw at him. I think Boston, with the history of those two teams, would welcome it. So the name brand part of that being the first round matchup, you're like, wait, this isn't what's supposed to happen. You're getting back the NBA's MVP in the first round. But I just don't know if those two teams would be afraid of what we saw last night unless it gets a lot better in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think just that as a teammate of Joel's, I think that does give us that boost, that confidence that, okay, any given night we have Joel Embiid, we can feed him, we can dominate him. The 7 games, is that enough for him to get in good shape? That I don't know, but I said, Ryan, I've torn my meniscus 4 times. The fact that he's back playing 30 minutes, doing what he did last night, after just missing 9 weeks, was the most impressive thing to me. And yeah, his cardio is going to come. He's going to turn the ball over. He's going to be a little passive, like you said. But the fact that he's on the floor, to me, gives them at least that the season's not just a waste. You know what I mean? Like, now at least we have a team we can go to war with in the postseason, no matter who we play. If it's the Celtics, so it's a big mountain to climb. But at least now we have the confidence with Joel Embiid going.
But on the flip side of that, think about if you're the Boston Celtics, what are you thinking? You're like, well, damn.
What are you thinking?
I put this team in a position to be one of the best in the league this year, only to be rewarded with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey for the first round of the playoffs. Like, he's changing the whole dynamic of the playoff look.
Yeah, Ryan, if you're the Celtics, would you rather the Miami Heat or the Philadelphia 76ers? Because they're probably going to get one of those two after having a hell of a season.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you would think, and you guys can answer this a lot better than I can, but I'd always like to think, like, if you think anything of yourself, if you have any kind of personal pride, knowing that you blew that series to Miami, because I think that Eastern Conference Finals outcome is still one of the most surprising playoff series I've ever seen, because Miami just punked them for 3 straight games. It's like Boston, you're like, you're really going to let this happen? And then Boston wakes up. They get it to 17 and turns the ankle. So you would think, like, yeah, no, actually, we want those guys again because we want to prove what happened last year. The difficult thing about, I'm getting emotional about it.
Oh, my God.
Play it cool. Play it cool.
Stay cool.
Deep breaths.
All right. I watched the Heat for what, 5-6 months, and then it's like, Okay, none of that mattered. Like the team I watched last night against New York, where most of their guys are back, and Butler's defending Brunson, and now Kalen Martin's back in there, and Jovic, who I have a sneaky love for. Like I watched that game against New York, who was missing all of their other guys, and you're like, wait, would this be a 4 seed if they had played like this the entire time? So I still think Miami would be the more challenging basketball team than Philadelphia, because I don't know why it's going to look so much better in 2 weeks. But you would think there'd be some lingering personal pride from athletes after what happened last year to Boston losing in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, and anytime there's like a banged up team all year long, and you just know Miami, at some point they're going to get Tyler Hero back. Now they got Martin back, you know. They're getting Jimmy Butler back. So it's like at some point this team's going to be full strength, and I don't want to play them in the first round. But given as a competitor of, you know, what happened in the past, yeah, I'm a little more juiced up than playing, you know, a banged up Philly.
For
but
me,
also, I want to survive in advance, too, and just play Orlando in the second round. So, so whatever's the easiest path also would be kind of nice.
we give Miami a lot of credit because they usually turn it on at the end of the season and they become one of those teams that you don't want to run into. But pre-Joel Embiid injury, Philadelphia was a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
So to run into them with Joel Embiid back for the first round of the playoffs, I think, in my personal opinion, that's a scarier matchup.
Yeah. Just selfishly as a fan and people that we're all going to be watching, I love everything about what's happening right now.
I'll tell you this, whoever Philly plays the first round, if Joel Embiid wasn't playing, I probably wouldn't watch that series at all. They'd get swept.
Exactly.
Now with Joel Embiid, at least it's spicy.
It changes everything.
Let's talk Celtics for a second, Russillo, because they are, it's just a crazy team. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall when they're watching Joella come back and they're like, damn it. But they got the best record. And then Jason Tatum takes a lot of heat, predominantly clutch time critiquing. Where are you on what he's done, what he can do? What are his limitations, if any?
Just a real quick thing. I think with the history of the playoffs and Embiid, Boston's like, whatever.
Really?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think they think Embiid's easier to guard in the playoffs than the other top guys in the league.
Than Miami?
So
Yeah.
I just think it's harder for a traditional center to destroy you in those late possessions. But as we're talking
I
late
don't think
possessions,
anything is
Michelle,
traditional about Joel Embiid. I feel you, but Joel Embiid is like, that's not traditional to me. You know what I mean?
yeah, look, I mean, if we're going George Mikan, you got me.
No, not that traditional.
No, Lou won't go that back.
We won't go that far.
Yeah, but also,
No.
who on the
We're saying
Celtics,
the same
Ryan?
thing.
Who on the Celtics, Ryan? Porzingis ain't guarding Joel in the half-court offense. Horford, so they're going to be
Horford
double
does.
teaming. So these guys like Oubre, Harris are going to get a lot of more open shots than they have the last 9 weeks.
Horford does, I can't believe he's still doing this, okay?
I know.
But he does an incredible job of like just making everything, all the work before the catch and the setup. He just does a better job against Embiid than other people have done. I think that's why the Sixers were motivated to sign him as a free agent years ago. And here we are like 5-6 years later, and he's still giving them good minutes. You're right, Porzingis one-on-one, like nobody's going to handle Embiid one-on-one. I would just say I've noticed stuff, I feel like late with him in some of those big possessions where he needs to be set up to get into position, or he needs to be set up to get that catch at the free throw line, which is a layup for him. But it's just a little bit harder for him than, say, like a list of 2 or 3 other perimeter guys that can kind of get the ball and just go. At least that's the way look, we may just disagree about it, but I don't think Boston's going to go, oh no, we have to play him again when they've had a pretty good track record against him in the playoffs.
See, and to me, the Celtics, their issue...
Like, who's stopping Boston?
Well, their weakness was their depth to me,
Right.
but the fact that they went through a whole regular season, they're 59-16 with Pritchard and Hauser and Horford as their only 3 real rotational bench players is nuts. So everyone knows getting into the postseason, it shortens anyway. So now I think that's almost an advantage to them because now teams are just going to go 7-8 deep anyway. So now I think that as that weakness turns into a strength because those guys are proven, those guys are ready, they've gotten all the reps all year long, and they're healthy, and they've been healthy, which helps a lot.
Who's stopping
Well, if you
him?
want me to go ahead. Look, the late game stuff though, Michelle, you're asking me about, like,
Yeah.
I see it too, because, if you dig into all the numbers, and we did this with Bill on Sunday, there's not really like this number that jumps out. Like, oh, in 2020 they did this, but then the late game they did this, or their playoff efficiency and offense went down a hill. And you're like, it's all kind of pretty steady. Like 22 was probably more about defense. But I've looked at all the clutch numbers. I think it's more of an eye thing than something that's looked at in the number because they only have, like, after the All-Star break, 8 games that qualify as clutch. But I do think they get a little isolation, jab step, triple threat happy where Tatum and Jalen are so good at making absurd shots that they kind of default to that. But the byproduct of that becomes that everybody's just standing around watching to see if the shot is going to go in, and they make themselves easier to defend. So this is an historically accomplished statistical regular season team. But I think some of that lingering stuff that those of us that have watched them a lot were like, hey, is that going to be enough, not just to get out of the East, but to beat, say, a Denver in the finals? Because I thought that was a very clear difference between the execution of those two teams when they played twice this year.
But so right now, would you take the Celtics or would you take the field just to get out of the East?
I take the Celtics over the field, but I wouldn't take them over Denver.
Yeah, me neither.
That sounds fair, right?
I mean, the fact that they're 32-3 at home,
Yeah.
too, which is they're like you said. Sometimes we see Tatum take these it's like Luka. When you see him take this 35-foot step back three at the end and he misses it, it's like what the fuck? What kind of?
Especially when teams are going on runs.
Yeah, it's like why are you taking
yeah.
the shot? So when you see Tatum and Brown, they get to their mid-range, they do it. That's a low efficient shot, right? That's a low percent shot. So, but when he makes it, it's a hero. What a crazy shot! But most of the time, it's not a high. It's not a good shot.
Live by it, die by it. Yeah. They're a jump shooting basketball team. They like shooting jump shots and they like shooting 3-pointers. They're gonna live and die by it. Even when teams go on a 6 to 8 point run, you would think they'll come down, get something flowing where the ball will move side to side. No, this team plays ISO basketball and they're gonna live by it and die by it.
And that's what we wait to see in the postseason. I can't wait to hear your take on Draymond Green because the fourth ejection of the season just happened. It was so egregious that I think he finally lost Lou as a staunch defender, at least this week. It was the first time it has happened. So where are you? Are you reading Kerr and Curry as just like, they gotta be over it, but they gotta also stand by their dude?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's standing by him. I think it's, sometimes you do everything as a parent. I don't know what that's like, but your kid just sucks. You just go like, we did a lot of stuff. We bought him stuff. We deprived him of stuff. We tried all these different angles. We read books, and he's not going to listen to us. So I think the stuff that's really frustrating about Draymond is I think his personality is really important to this entire run. I've always felt like every team needs one guy that's going to kind of live in the gray area and fight for you emotionally, because the rest of the Golden State Warriors over these years have been kind of passive personalities. I mean, they're great. There's a bunch of my favorite players I've ever watched, but they needed Draymond to be this kind of emotional fuel for them throughout a lot of this stuff. So I think that was kind of the agreement where they all understood, hey, we need to let him go a little bit further because this is just who he is. I remember I interviewed him after the 16 finals in person in Toronto at the All-Star events. And I was like, is there any part of you that regrets, what happened in 16 and really the finals turning on that? He was like, nope. I was like, I wouldn't have 70 million if I acted like you or something like that. And I mean, he wasn't actually being a jerk about it to me, but he was basically saying like, I am wired this way. This is what you get. And that's why I have all this money in the bank and I've got it. So I don't think that he's ever really felt like he has to be more accountable. Like all of us want to be more accountable.
I think he finally said it on his own podcast, though. He said, I might have cost us a championship in 2016. I believe that's what he said on his podcast.
So what does he believe? Because he says one thing, he says another thing.
Absolutely.
What is what? What's up?
My thing is, it's all fun and games. He is the emotional leader. He is that heartbeat. He is that toughness. But when you're not on the floor for your team, all that shit goes out the window. So if you are that emotional leader and you are the tough guy in the locker room, and Clay and Steph, as great as they are kind of passive and they're super nice guys, but they're not going to be the guys to jump you in practice. They're not going to be the guys to check Coach Steve
Punch
Kerr.
you in the face.
They're not that. But when it comes to this level where now he's missing games, and as Steve Curry, you realize that we are a much better team when he is on the floor. That's where then I'm pissed off. That's when Steph Curry is literally crying on the court. Because there's 23-11 since he's back. That's a huge difference than the bad product they were putting without him. So his value is more important than his attitude and his toughness. That doesn't matter to me if he's not able to play because he's suspended doing dumb shit.
Agreed.
End of the day, Jordan Poole's not the only player that got punched last year. Trust me. He was the only one that somebody leaked the tape. Trust me.
You mean punched by Draymond? Or
there's a hot take.
It's like a serial puncher last year?
Hold on.
How many guys have you seen get punched in the face?
You know what's crazy? I saw Omri Caspi and Garrett Temple beat each other, and there was no video of it.
That's a duo.
That's what I'm saying.
The two nicest guys
problem is the video getting leaked. It's not the problem. Somebody gets punched.
Oh, you're not saying Draymond's punched like 30
hell no.
games last year.
He better not.
Because that would have been a story.
Nah,
Yeah, that's what I was like. Can I go?
Nah.
now?
Well, there is probably 25 other altercations that with Draymond, with anyone else, that if it was on tape, we would really be mind blown.
I know. What are we not seeing?
But side note, the Omri Caspi Garrett Temple
the
fight
things
was the
you-
That's
craziest.
the weirdest duo I've ever heard. Why would they be mad
Garrett
at
Temple's
each
like
other?
the nicest guy in the world.
And Omri, it was crazy.
What
It was
was the
after like
deal?
a loss that we were in Memphis. It was after a loss, and I'm talking like blows, punching each other in the face to where like we were so caught up, we didn't even break it up. We were just like watching, and then finally. It
was like hockey.
But it was a crazy fight. It was literally a hockey fight.
I kind of love that. You let
all
him
I'm
breathe.
saying.
If that video came out, it would have been
That's
so
all I'm saying.
viral.
People get punched every day, B. People
What is wrong with you? Lou is the
Cassidy
worst.
wasn't a big rebounder, right?
Caspi?
Can't even bring it up. Oh, let me ask you this. Warriors, Lakers, we got the whole play-in situation. Either
Yeah.
one of those, in your opinion, a viable option to make a deep run? Both? I don't know.
This is the most clueless I think I've ever been entering the West. Seriously.
I know.
Like, I like so many of these teams, and I'm like, all right, I can find the argument, right? I can find the argument against them. Like, I got asked the other day, I was like, okay, after Denver, because I think Denver, it makes sense to default to Denver. And that's with Murray back, because they have a really hard time with guys on the ball creating on their own. There's just not a lot of those guys. And when JOKIC comes out now, you know, you can just see that the offense has struggled a little bit. So anyway, when I look at the matchup part of it, like I think Minnesota, with the way they've handled the Clippers, with the way they can have Gobert cover Gordon in the dunker spot, and then Denver tries to have Gordon bring Gobert away, and they just ignore it. And they're like, fine, you want to shoot corner threes, Aaron? Do it. That means Jokic isn't shooting the basketball. Like, I like Minnesota as another option, but I know you could come back at me and kill me on the late offense. What is the thing that you trust? What does it look like with Cat coming back, if he's coming back late, and all that kind of stuff? So when you start factoring Golden State, LA into it, like Golden State's been, I mean, actually both these teams have been really good since you look at these record points, but I think it's an awful matchup for Golden State. Like last year in the playoffs, you just went, this is impossible.
We're
It's just too
talking
much size.
which of those teams make a run. One of those teams aren't getting out of the play-in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, one of the
Which is weird to.
Yeah, like
imagine.
I don't think they're catching Phoenix, and Phoenix is gonna, Phoenix, Sacramento, and then one of those teams are out. So it's,
Do you guys like Phoenix?
dude, I'm so scared of Phoenix. I love Phoenix.
Really?
I thought they were so, underperforming, but I've
I'm
said
this
it all
emoji.
year long. I think they have it all. I think the pickup of like a Royce O'Neal is great. Nurkic, he'll constantly have 15 and 15. Nobody talks about that. Beal's been a little bit of a roller coaster, inconsistent, but when you have that much offensive firepower, and you have Grayson Allen now having a career year
Ugh,
shooting
what
three,
a world we live in.
they have so many weapons offensively where, to me, that's scary. Minnesota had a great year. OKC had a great year, but I'm not scared to play them in the postseason because I haven't seen them do it before. I haven't
So
seen.
KD is why you.
I've seen those. I've seen Devin Booker do it. I've seen Kevin Durant do it. So those guys, their resume scares me more than
But you
I don't
haven't
care about
seen
the regular
them
season.
do it together. That's
No,
that's my
and they've been
problem.
super inconsistent. I just
Yeah,
know
at
what
this-
they're capable of.
There we go.
Well, wait, Ryan, why'd
There we
you
go.
ask? Because are you not buying them?
I had a really hard time, and I know it's one game, but the rematch against the Spurs where they lost.
You mean the
There was
3 of the
no
4 they
Wembanyama.
lost? I love it so much.
Yeah, or that. They were a team where I was like, I don't really care what the record is. I don't care what the seed is. I don't care what all the numbers are. Like,
Same.
those guys haven't played enough games together. Like, once they roll it out, like, I love Booker. He is one of my favorite players of the last few years. It wasn't immediate with him, but just the way he is and he goes about his business. Like, I wish more basketball players just as soon as they stepped on the court were like that guy. I think he has that thing that you need to just raise your game to another level. And we've at least seen with the run in 21, we're like, okay, there's something there, as opposed to some of these other players that I love that, I think there's always a moment of, oh, is that guy comfortable right now? Like, I remember Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in that run with the Thunder where they went to the Rockets with 7 games, and it was Chris Paul and it was Schroeder. Like, SGA, granted, he was younger. He wasn't the first option. You're like, I don't know if he's entirely comfortable out there. And now I would never even think that of him, going, because the team is his and all these different things. So with Phoenix, they check all these boxes, but I feel like I gave up in the last week. And their closing schedule is absurd.
Yep.
When you look at everybody they're going to play
Their schedule's
before the
nuts.
Their
regular
schedule sucks.
it's unbelievable
Yeah.
how bad it is.
Yeah, somebody was mad.
Yeah,
at them.
I'm with Ryan on this one. Like they haven't had that firepower that you would expect from the talent that they have on paper. I hadn't seen them put one of those runs together where I'm like, yo, this is gonna be a dangerous basketball team come postseason. It's just so many inconsistencies in how they play and how they defend. It just worries me sometimes.
Minnesota 52-23, Phoenix 44-31. If they played in the playoffs, I think I'm taking the Suns.
I mean, when you put it like that, it is an interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about their regular season record. I really don't.
The numbers are the numbers. I'm a vibe guy. I ain't feeling
I'm a
the
vibe
vibe.
guy, too.
Yeah, I'm not feeling
Break
the
the
vibe.
vibes.
Yeah, we got vibes and visions.
Suns in 4. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that kid back. We're gonna get that kid back.
And I'm all for
They
it.
might sweep him.
I think, like, a few weeks ago, I probably would have gone with you on this.
I know.
And by the way, this is what we're getting. We're
Yeah.
getting. And then I'm waiting around for, like, the Clippers, and they're just going to go, hey, we showed you what we needed to do for 2 months, and now we're going to stink.
Yeah,
Looking
me and
awful on
Lou.
defense.
Me and Lou were hot on the Clippers.
Lou
Now
was-
they've shit the
I
bed.
think I'm still there. So
still there.
we agree again. It's so many of these teams in the West that I really, really like that it's all over the
You guys
place.
should exchange numbers after this show. dude.
No, but seriously, like, what about Dallas? Like, I know they
Dallas
lost
is
last
scary.
night, but
Dallas is scary. That's what, look at what we've named 10
Chandler
teams now.
can't- I know, there's
And they're
too many.
all good. They're all deep, and they all can beat you any given night. It's just
Dallas is
like-
one of those teams I can't get with, but Chandler loves them.
Same, the
I can't
vibes.
get with it.
Dallas.
By the way, I just want to fast forward to the playoffs. On the MVP thing, Lou's had SGA, had him since before the season even started. Chandler's got Jokic. You actually have a vote. Where are you leaning? And if it is
Yeah.
Jokic and he gets his third,
Yeah.
is he best of all? I mean, I know Tony Kukoc has his opinion, but
Which
where
is
are you?
a
Which is stupid.
ridiculous take.
What was it? I missed that
He
one.
was-
You
he's-
ex-players, man, you guys get mad at us, the
like it.
media. You've
Dude,
been on fire
Kukoc
the last year. I
said-
can't
Kukoc
even.
went nuts.
Jokic isn't on the level of Vlade. And,
He wasn't top 5.
He's
Someone else. Some Dino Raja. So
Kukoc is
Jokic is
smoking.
good and all. The stats are cool, but he's nowhere near as good as
Stats
Dino
are cool.
Raja. That was a real
That's
quote.
cool, bro. But
it reeks of
Wow.
old school.
Wait, you get a vote, Ryan? Okay, what can we?
look at that.
Yeah,
He just
what?
He just sat
Thanks,
up straight.
Chandler. You seem excited about it.
He does.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Do we get a vote? Come on.
No,
we're
we
the-
don't get a vote. We're not real.
I just
all right.
got it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it until after I left ESPN.
That's the best part.
So that was the weirdest. Like, all these things that have happened to me post ESPN. It was like, oh, is that because of ESPN? It was like, no, I actually, as soon as I left,
As soon
things,
as I was gone,
like,
everything was
I don't
good.
really get it either. No, I think somebody in the office was like, do you know how many games this loser watches?
That's-
Like, just.
You should
You're
get
like,
a
give-
vote, though. Think of the
give 'em
people
a
who
vote.
do. Like, you should get a vote. How hard do you think about it? Or you already know? You're like, I've had it.
Last year, I really had a hard time with it.
Okay.
You know, because I think it is really important.
Yeah.
You know, as
A
a
vote last year, too?
Just shut up.
Thanks, buddy.
He's never been more impressed by a human being
God.
in his life.
I don't know if it's that. I feel like there's a tad like, all right, you know? Because when
No.
you started bringing up the Kukoc thing, I started bringing up the Globe, being like, let me try to figure out what's going on and why they're dumping on Jokic so bad. Last year, I struggled with it. I really, really struggled. I ended up going with Embiid. I didn't, but I just tried to make the vote because last year there was so much bullshit going on, just warring tribes on that was so frustrating because I felt like you just had to be so dismissive of either one of the players to make your point, and I just didn't think that's what it was. And I thought the way Embiid closed and Jokic in Denver was kind of like over it, and you got to try to go the whole season. So anyway, having said that, I have no hesitation with Jokic this year. Like, none.
Done.
There's no way. There's no way he could wear a T-shirt that says Ryen Russillo sucks for warm-ups, and there's just no way I'd be voting for anybody else. It really comes down to Luka and Giannis 2-3 for me, which makes Lou probably upset that I don't
Wow.
have SGA in my
Whoa.
team.
No,
Yeah.
well, today I conceded. I thought the only way that he could possibly pull it off if they finish the season with the 1 seed and him being the leader of that, and with some slippage, I think they're in third today or something of that nature.
It could change in 2 days. I
But
mean,
Lou,
yeah,
he
it
said
could
Luka
change.
and Giannis are his 2 and 3. I didn't hear SGA.
I'm gonna bypass that part.
And not Tatum?
But
no
it's-
love,
but
no
it's a-
love for Tatum?
It's a lot of people that like Giannis as well. Giannis is a sleeper pick.
I just feel like there's almost like we're so used to it now that like I almost voted Giannis last year.
Really?
Number one. Yeah.
It's like it's just he's there. He's in our subconscious all the time. But
Yeah, like
look
he
at-
doesn't have I'm sorry, Michelle.
Go
I
ahead.
think it's because sometimes Giannis and I think the guys that played, like like he just gets it and goes through everybody. There isn't like we had that thing this season where like where's the bag? Where's the bag? Like I don't know, man. Whatever it is, it works. And I love that he's up for it every single night. That's the thing about
Not
God.
to mention-
I think he's mad.
Ryan, Jokic's schedule, they got the Hawks, the Jazz, the
Yeah.
Spurs, the Grizzlies. Like, they're going to get the 1 seed, too.
Yeah,
which
it's
I think
huge.
stamps his...
Well, that Spurs thing's not a given, so let's slow down. Let's talk
You're right,
Spurs
because it's
for
the
a
last
second.
game and nobody will play.
I know, maybe not. They've been fighting the Chet Holmgren Rookie of the Year thing basically all season, although that's weakened a little bit. It's Wemby's, right? I mean, who cares what the team record is?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I hate Rookie of the Year being factored in by like, oh, those games mattered more.
Same.
Like Chet can have a game where he doesn't even have, like I like Chet, so I don't want to argue against Chet.
Yep.
But Chet's role and responsibility on this team is completely different than Wembanyama's, and Victor's the better player.
Yeah.
See, I think we turned the corner on Wemby. Again, the things he's doing
19
are nuts.
wins, though.
I just think so we're not looking
Almost
at all
20
at wins and losses in this only award. Everything else, All-Star, MVP, wins matter. Rookie of the Year doesn't.
Right, you're a rookie. You're just doing
But
you.
it's crazy when it's a draft. Okay, we're talking about the best team arguably in the West and the worst team in the West. You don't think Chet would put up those numbers on the Spurs and still get that many wins?
You almost
No.
had a quadruple double and lost.
On the flip side, though,
It's
how
just
good
hard-
would the
it's just
Thunder be
hard
if
to root
Wemby
for
was
that.
on the Thunder?
This is what it's been all season.
It's just
Ryan,
hard.
and I
It's
just-
like it's mesmerizing, but it's just hard to root for when it comes to winning.
Yeah, if we
an
can agree that
award.
winning does not matter, fine. Wemby by far is the
That's
better
it.
player, better future, and he has had a hell of a year. Fine. Winning just does not matter.
A lot of these big numbers have come with losses. That's all we're saying.
Most of them.
Right, and he also had like 3 months where no one on the team could throw him an entry pass.
Okay, but
well, look.
but Chet is literally possibly a #1 seed, Ryan. That's got to count for something.
It's coming. It's coming, Ryan. This has been awesome. I hope you'll come back on again. Was it Bill that said when he watches Wemby, he feels like he's in a dream? Is that him?
I think so.
Yeah.
Although he lost his mind. I mean, I'm glad we're leaving now before I get to say I'm flirting with Wemby for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yes! All right, let's come back. This is all. I love this so much.
know.
All right, this has been great. It's been good to catch up. Talk soon.
Thank you,
Appreciate it,
everybody.
Ryan.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be back.
Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back.